Hello, class. Hey, our final assignment. Finally getting there. Next week's finals weeks. But let's just go over since Geomagic Design X is actually a quite, it's kind of complex. But once you get to know the software, it's relatively easy. It's still got a lot more stuff built into it that definitely, of course, we're not going to get to. But let's just go over was our assignment 11. And technically, that's going to be a Merry Christmas to you guys. I'm going to post these, going over assignment 11 even before it's due. So there's no reason everybody can't get a perfect score on it. So first thing we're going to do here, this is your Geomagic Design X. You either can access it through the log into our computers at school or do what I did and download the actual 15-day trial. This makes it so much easier when you actually download the trial because then it actually links to your SolidWorks that you have on your computer too. But first thing we're going to do, let's import that metal block. Import only. And there you go. You can right click to rotate. And of course, the first thing you always want to do, well, I kind of gave you the hint that this block is pretty much clean. I got this from our friends at Digitized Designs, same videos you were watching on the scanners from Bo. He let me use this. This is what they use for their training on Geomagic Design X, which gives you a good overview of the basics of it. So, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure that we in the region we do the auto segment because we want to make sure that the program picks out basically all the surfaces for us. We're going to leave everything normal. We don't need to go to more options, but hit your check mark and auto segments for you. So now we got our surfaces. Second thing we want to do, we're going to create a solid because I guess working with Geomagic X, it's kind of like working, with a block of material and then removing everything off, kind of like machining. You start with something big and you machine everything down to get all your features. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on one of these surfaces and I want to create the main feature. Merge. This is the extrusion wizard. We're just going to leave everything the way it is. You can hit your next. And it gives you a preview of our surface. Basically, it's creating a solid based on the parameters of the scan. Kind of goes around all of the surfaces and just builds a block for us. And even keeps the U cut out there. Okay. Now, if you notice right here, we have our first extrusion. Now, here's the trick tip for when working with things like this. Well, one thing is if you hit Control and the number 1, it makes your mesh disappear. Sometimes it's easier to see things if you just want to look at your block without the mesh. So let's say you do a cut and you want to check out exactly what your cut looks like without the mesh. Just hit Control and 1 simultaneously and it disappears. Now the other key secret to working with these features, you want to start doing some cuts or extrusions, stuff like that. Our first one, right click, hide your body. This way we don't see your solid, and this way it's a lot easier to see the features and the surfaces that you're working on. Pretty much I'm going to do this every time I work on a feature. Go to your extrude 1, I'll show it, I'll go to my extrude 1, I'll hide it. So I'm kind of going to work the way I work this project. I did the big circle first, then the small one, then I worked on these features. So let's just hop right to it. So in order to work on surfaces, it's just like, remember there's this body we have here. So when I turn it off, it's still there. This is just not showing it. So it's technically still there. But since I'm looking at the mesh data, I can select on any of these planes. It's like SolidWorks it's very similar to SolidWorks where I can right click on a surface. So I just pick this upper surface with all these circles. And I want to do a mesh sketch. This opens up your sketch features up here. Then you go to mesh sketch setup. It's basically going to look for all the polylines for me and then try to create. You can see all these polylines. Scan data, a lot of times it's not pretty. It's not a perfect flat plane. So this shows that it's not a perfect flat plane, but the plane that it picked was based off of all the scan data it had. And therefore, it's going to come up with a lot of extra stuff. So hit the OK and see all these pink. And I can zoom in. All these pink are the polylines, all the things that intersected the surface that we originally extracted. So this surface is what we're working with. I want to create, I'm going to do this one first, the extrusion. The circle here. So I got a sketch on it. You know, it's got the polylines that are around it. But in order to be able to highlight them, let's go over here to circle. I want to make a circle. See, as I hover above it, it's not a perfect circle. It's making the best guess of where the circle is. See, that's all sketchy, but that's just the polylines. But if you notice, you'll just click on what its best guess is, and there, it creates a circle. See the blue line? It's kind of a, yeah, if I hover away from it, there's a blue line out around it. Hover over it, that's the best guess. It knows that's pretty much a circle, so it's taking a guess at what the circle is. What I do a smart dimension. Oops. Let me back that up again. I forgot to click that out first. Click this, and then I'm going to do a smart dimension on that one I just made. The reason I'm doing this is because what you're going to do in the future is play around with the dimensions to get it perfect using which is not here right now, but it's the deviation, basically deviation wizard, which will color code everything based on how close you were to the original mesh when you're making your parametric model. So here's the one trick tip also. Okay, now I'm on sketch. A lot of times it took me a while when I was first working with this program to figure out, okay, I got my sketch, but it's down here. Why is it not active? How do I get out of this? Oh, all you gotta do is go over here to exit. And that's the same as, you know, like clicking OK in SolidWorks. You click OK on your sketch and you get out of it. Well, when you exit your sketch here, now I actually have a sketch, a mesh sketch. See, you can see it kind of right there. Now, just like SolidWorks, click on your sketch. You're gonna go to Model, and over here, technically these are the only two we're gonna use right now for this entire part: extrude and revolve. And technically, all of the things we're doing are cuts. So for our extrude, hit the extrude, and you'll notice, oh, it's going up because it wants to extrude and create a solid from it. I want to cut. I want to cut it, but notice how it's still in the wrong direction. If you go right here, flip direction. That flips the other direction. And then, oops, let me scroll this around. Now, getting this exactly right now, I think of it as kind of since this is all mesh data, there's no surfaces, so I can't do extrude surface. You know, that'd be the best. So unlike SolidWorks, it can't do that. But what I can do is kind of like when we did our PDF to part, where we didn't have we had like one dimension, and we dimensioned from the pictures after scaling that one picture, or the three views of the pictures. Well, we can scale this by grabbing this and kind of, you know, guessing where it is. It doesn't really matter how well we do right this second, because later on when we go right here, we're going to actually use the deviation for body in the end, and then we'll go back and we'll fine-tune the dimensions to get it so it's more exact of what the actual mesh was. So the design intent, well, there's two different things. Design intent, you know, if we were to actually take the measurements and figure out exactly, you know, what the measurements were, we could probably figure out what the original design intent was. It's probably not going to be some random, you know, crazy like 4-digit number. It's going to be some round number, some tangible round number that we're working with. But for right now, we're just going to eyeball it. Okay, that looks about right. And one thing I noticed, I'll show you right now. One thing I noticed, because the surface, remember we had so many polylines on the surface, when you only extrude in one direction, here, I did the cut operator, I'm doing the blind and I dragged it 7.35. Remember here, I can go back to the original extrude one, show body. Now look at here. Let me zoom out. When I do that extrude body, here, control 1 to turn off the mesh, you go, hey, how come it didn't cut all the way? Well, our original plane, there was so much noise in the upper surface. Our original plane didn't go all the way through. So what I like to do um, is go back and just extrude both directions. And going up, just got to cut a little bit. Now, control 1. Now I have my cut. You what's my deviation right now? See, right now I have a, I can already see when I press my deviation, I'm going to have to go down farther because I'm way off, not way off, but I'm off, slightly. And once again, we are ignoring this pattern of holes, and we're just working on that. Now that I have a bottom feature, I can go over here. I want to sketch. Let me turn off hide body again. I want to sketch on that surface. So if I right click there, oops, region 1, extrude cut. All right, I turn back on the solid just so I can see some more. In order to work on this next hole down the middle, because remember we're going to ignore all these ones, just click anywhere in the open space up here. Go to mesh sketch. Now it's going to want you to pick a plane. I want to pick that plane. Now see the polylines it's created for me. I want though this circle right here. That one's I think gonna be good enough for me. Hit exit. Notice how I forgot to add a dimension. I can always add that in later. But now let's go back here. Remember, go to model, extrude. I want the cut. I want to switch the direction. Literally, I can go through all. And then the opposite direction. For some reason, even when it's down here on the bottom, I'm just going to go blind, go through all. And then hit control 1. Now I have actually the first shape complete. Remember, we're ignoring that little outer pattern feature. So control 1, turn that back on. Now I want to hide our extrude 1 again, hide body. Which one do I want to work on right now? Let's pick, how about, let's do this plane right here because it goes all the way across. Just to show you a plane. I can right click on that surface mesh sketch. Sure. But now, let's see here. Oops. This program is difficult. I forgot about this. And you gotta click both of them, your left and right mouse, whatever, so you can pan. Let's see here. How about a line? There we go. Actually, oops, that line. Click yes. Do another one because that one's the closest. So now I can connect that and go kind of. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Why? Because I'm going to cut upwards. There we go. closest we can get. Now, remember exit. Now I've got this nice, kind of awkward looking rectangle, but that's okay because what I want to do is extrude, cut upward. Now, let me show my body again. Control 1. We've got that ledge. Now, you're like, hey, that looks kind of awkward there. Remember though, Control 1. And let me hide this again. Extrude, hide body. Once I do this plane, I can do a gigantic, rectangle large, extrude this way. It's going to take care of that awkward looking area, and the same with this side. So let me take care of this plane real quick, just to show you what easy it is. Now I'm going to do a rectangle. Which is good enough because, see? Now let's take that sketch and go for an extrude. And we got the right direction. I want a cut operator. I'm going to just drag it up more. Show body. Control 1. See how easy that was? Control 1. Now I'm going to do the other side real quick. I'm taking care of kind of the easy things first. I'm going to do extrude 1, hide, body. Now I'm going to do a sketch on this surface. And once again, let me do a rectangle. Exit. Got this. Extrude. Sounds good to me. Cut. Correctly. Let's go double check. Show body. Control 1. Starting to take shape. Now we can come with the more complex things. Well, let's take care of the least complex, which is this one, because I can actually draw on this side. Let's see here. My sketch. Let me get rid of my, oops, that's right. I have to get back out of that. Sorry about that. Always got to hide your body before you do that. Now, if I right click on there, this one I'm just going to use I could use a circular. Let's see. Which one would give me the best? I can start with this and then it's looking about right. Eventually we're going to have to adjust this, but I'm going to throw a smart dimension here real quick. And it looks like I'm going to need to, let's see, take this a little bit smaller, 6.4. Now, let me try. Keep going until I get closer. Let's start with 6.6. I can already tell it's going to have some problems on this side, but we can adjust that later. So now, go back to extrude, do the opposite direction, cut through all. Let me see what my solid looks like. Extrude 1. Once again, Notice how the plane, there's actually a very thin plane because it's not perfect. So there's a very thin plane right there. So if I go back to that extrude, make sure you do both directions. Only have to do that much in the other direction. Control 1. Now I've got that shape. I can already tell just by the coloring it's going to be off. Not that much, you know. Yellow, you know, for our assignment we're trying to get within plus or minus, you know, 0.2. So if it's the yellow and the light blue, we're good. We're getting there. We just got to fine tune it a little bit. All right, let's work on another one. Okay, let's work on, let's see, let's work on this one because it's a little easier than this one. So this one, let's turn off our extrude one again. High body. And we can use the top layer to sketch on. This one actually has a nice circle. Now, if you look at this from whatever angle, it's like taking a ice cream scoop, basically ice cream scoop. It's a half of a cylinder. So what's the easiest thing to do? Let's create a circle around it, which we did. Now, with this circle, what we can do is cut it in half. The line. There we go. Now, similar to SolidWorks, I'm going to trim out half. Now I've got literally a half circle. Good. Now let's exit. I've got this half circle. Now what we're going to do with that half circle, when you have it highlighted, let's do revolve. And revolve, just like you know, SolidWorks, I can do revolve or revolve cut. When do revolve cut 360, you select the area you want. Oops. Select the area you want. 360, one drop, one rotation. And it's going to ask you for the axes. Select that. Just select the center line. And then, wow, look at that. You got like a little donut. Off cut. That should work. Let me go back and turn on our extrude 1. Control 1. There we go. You have that feature created. Now for the final feature, Control 1. Hide the body. This one's going to be a little more complicated because if you look at the shape, it's pretty much we can use the revolve cut, but it's a cone and then you have like another cutout portion. So the way that I guess Geomagic Design X works is, remember, a mesh cloud is just a bunch of points. So it doesn't really have, there's nothing parametric about it, it's just a bunch of points. And whenever we're working on like these surfaces, it's literally taking a plane and chopping through all those points. And that's why we get the polylines. All these little odd shapes are polylines that represent the, I guess you could say, the points that cut through that plane. So in order to do the same thing here, you know, if we could easily make a plane right down the middle, we can have Geomagic Design X create us a sketch of the profile in there. I gave you guys all these hints. Well, the profile, if I could do like a half of the profile and the revolve cut, I can have that one. How do we get there? We could draw on any of the planes. Let's create a plane there. So we go to reference geometry, plane. Okay, I want this, but technically first, oops, discard. What I want to do is I want to create some way I can make a plane from here to the center of this. So in order to do that, let me just do a sketch. I forgot to tell you this one trick tip. Okay, do a sketch on the top again. Now if I were to focus, oops, gosh, sometimes the scroll doesn't work. There we go. One thing you do, circles. Remember this? Let's see if I can get close enough. Oh, that's not even anywhere close. Or better yet, ooh, let me see. Let me get rid of that one. Circle. Can I? No. I'm just gonna have to guess this one out. No, just doesn't do it right. So, best guess. How about just a line? Better go from the center here. Out. For construction. Oops. Let me delete that. I forgot about that. If you hit for the for construction, I guess right around the center. I just need a polyline. Exit here. Now I've got a line that's pretty much at the center. We can go to our reference geometry, plane. Oops. That and that. That gives me a plane right along there. Meow what? So now that we have a reference plane, my crazy kitty, we can actually sketch on this plane. So if I actually right click on here, notice how in the center here, we have the profile. Now, if I do a polyline, just hover over it, click it, that gives me a good fit. Now, let me zoom in a little more. I want to get closer. Polyline. I'm going to try to make this just, oops. Actually, you know what? Let me do a line that is more vertical. Oh, that's not good. See, it tries to, it'll make more sense once I show you kind of what I'm doing. I am going to try to just make a vertical line right here. And then tools similar in SolidWorks, I'm going to extend this one to there. So let's go here to extend. And then trim. Now, I'm going to want halfway. So let me do another line for construction from that point over here. That's about right. And then let me do a line, let's see, midpoint. Go up, out, vertical, down. Starting to look like something I can revolve. Let me connect these 2 points, that to that. Now, that's got a vertical constraint. What was the dimension yeah, let's see here. 3.175. So I could adjust this one right now. Oops, that didn't work well. Undo. I'm going to have to lock this one in place. Let me get rid of this line. And add a constraint on the glasses. Constraint. Fix. I don't want that one to move. I want this one to move. There we go. So, exit. I should have a sketch there now. Now let's go back to revolve. Now we need the axis again. Let's pick the central axis here, 360. And I want this to be a cut operator again. Now let's go back to turn on extrude 1, show body, control 1. Oops. There we go. Pretty much that's how you create a parametric part by using Geomagic Design X. That kind of looks like a goofy looking face there. Now, this is where we've got all our features in. We can fine tune everything by turning on this. It looks like we're pretty much dead on that. Like I say, and don't worry about the depth inside this, because the mesh data was very jarbled up, so you can have all kinds of different variations in there. But here, 0.12, we're less than the 0.2. I'd say that feature is pretty much good. And technically, these ones need to be, I think, going down a little bit further. So, oops. We can play with these features. Let's see. Let's go back to extrude, our first one. Let's just adjust the depth down a little bit. 7.35. 37. Am I going in the right direction? Let's see. 7.36. Okay, I'm going the wrong direction. Let's go backwards. Oops. Let's go 7.2. Now we're getting closer. 7.2. Go edit. Let's go 7.1. Oops. 0.14. We're within our bounds, but let me go a little bit farther. 7.1. Edit. Let's just make it 7. Even 7 millimeters. Now we're in the green. Let 0.02. Remember these little nubs here we're ignoring. Of course, we're going to have variations in there. And I'm not worried. We're within the 0.2 around the edges. So 1, 2. This feature we're just a little bit out. So let's go. Let's see, 0.2. Now I wonder if I need to negative 0.2. So do I need to go a little bit larger? Walls cut. Let's set the sketch. Let's see here. Smart dimension. Can I change it just oh so slightly? 6.59, 6.65. How about that? See if that makes a difference. 2.7. Let me see if I'm going in the right direction. Let me just go larger real quick. 6.8. Okay, now I'm getting worse off, so I want to go the other direction. Sketch. 6.4. Let's see if that changes. Okay, yeah, we needed to go smaller. 6.4. Now I'm within the green and less than 0.2. So let me see. I need a little bit more on that side. Upper rim. What can I do? We could go in and fine tune, I guess, this side a little bit. Shift over because this side seems like we're doing fine on this side and over here, but we need to shift it just a little bit hair over. Or hey, wait, let me try this one more time. Edit sketch. I did a 6.4. How about 6.3? Let me see if that gets us to where we want. Okay, 6.3. So that didn't really do it. 6.4, I think, was our magic number. And seems we need to shift it over a little bit. You know what? We can get as close as we want. I think that's going to be good enough. It might be a little off. What we could do is we could actually draw a line, constrain that line as a construction line, and shift it over a little bit. Remember, there's everything here is just mesh features. Therefore, there's nothing really tangible to hold on to. And let's see, this one, we're off a little bit here, so we need to shift this just a little bit. It seems like, I guess the plane we were working on this side wasn't perfectly perpendicular. So, 0.15, seems we need to shift it oh so slightly. Let's see. Now if I hit sketch, you can hit the normal 2 button. And this is where, it's kind of hard to, tweak anything. So what I do is let's do a line for construction. I'm just going to do one that's right here. Just go perpendicular. And then what I want to do is I want to add a constraint to that line. I'm going to fix it so it does not move. And then do a smart dimension from here to that line. Now I can adjust. I want to shift it a little bit to the left, so 7.41. How about 7. Let me just start with something really small, like 7.35. Shift it over just a little bit. Exit. Now let's see, how did that affect? It affected it a little bit. 2.2. Aha. let's do sketch again. And I want to shift it, let's say, a little bit down. So now I need another line, kind of, let's see, to this one. Just go, oops, I want for construction only again. You have to always select that first. Just going horizontal. I want to constrain it as fixed. And now, do a smart dimension of this to that. Let's see about shifting it down just a little bit. 1.13, how about 1.1? We'll start with something really small. Yeah, 0.2, we're getting there. A little bit up in the upper wall. Just so I didn't bore you, actually, paused my recording for a second and just played around with these numbers to get it pretty much, plus or minus the 0.2. Let me show you what I did real quick, because it just takes playing around. I eventually, started playing around with the vertical. This goes to show, though, also if I'm looking at the way the mesh, how it morphs to the mesh, this plane that we're drawing off of is not exactly perpendicular to. So I guess you can say Geomagic Design X, the scan data and that plane don't perfectly match a flat surface. So it's just so slightly tweaked a little bit. So every time playing with this number, I can't find a perfect spot to put that circle to get it to cut straight through because the plane is not perfectly exactly flat. So getting close enough is just playing with it. I play with the diameter, 6.45 around there. Offset just a little bit from the circle. I pulled it a little bit more to the left, also slightly, and dropped it down a little bit. Started cutting a little bit more on this side because you noticed on the far side it started to get farther away. So I needed to cut a little bit more in, and in doing so, I've got it right here. Where now we're just a little bit out. 0.1. 3 with less than the 0.2. I could, if I wanted to morph it more, maybe do another cut. When I had it green, find out a slight different angle and maybe create a angle, but that's just too time consuming. So we're going to keep it as is right now. I'm within the 0.2. We're good. I think the only one spot now is the bottom, and it looks like we're good. It's all within the green. And remember, this is just a leftover from the scan data that we ignore, and we're ignoring all these. So we are within our 0.2. So that's how to create the part and get it within parameters. Then remember, just go to your Microsoft, snip and sketch. Take some screenshots. One of the front, which is good enough. And do the same thing of the back. You got your two things. Make sure you save your file according to what I asked for, which was, let's see, your name and then assignment 11. Therefore, make sure you save that. Then the final thing you're going to do is export it. So in order to export it, what I do first is make sure you open up your SolidWorks in the background. So I'm going to do that real quick. Now I have SolidWorks open in the background. So go back to the Home tab up here. Here's where I have our different Creo Inventor, everything like that. Just make sure you click on the SolidWorks, and we're going to do a live transfer. Start from the first feature, which will start from the feature. You'll have a rebuild if there's any errors. I remember the first time I was working on this, I actually did the extrude, did the revolve cut of this circle, but did an entire circle. And this program, just like SolidWorks, doesn't like certain things. it didn't like the full circle revolve. It allowed me to do it in GDX, Geomagic Design X, but when I transferred it, it came up an error because I guess SolidWorks doesn't like you to do that, so they want you to do like a half circle and a revolve cut. So finding little trick tips like that, hence the drawing the half the profile on this one, doing a revolve cut. It likes that. If I were to draw the entire profile and do a 360 cut, it wouldn't like that. Or I guess I could do a 180 cut and it should be okay, but I didn't try that. So just doing a half of your profile and then doing revolve cuts didn't like that. So we're just going to keep this, start from the first feature, leave everything else blank, and just hit your live transfer. Hit OK. And you wait. And usually it'll take 10, 15 seconds. And then it'll automatically pop up in SolidWorks. So yeah, this is where you get yourself go get yourself a cup of coffee real quick, and you keep your fingers crossed that there's no errors, and then you'll have your part. Hear that little bling? I go there's a little SolidWorks on the bottom flashing. Part 1. Export succeeded. Hit OK. And come over here and rotate your part. And you have your part. And you can look over here in tree and you've got your features transferred over. Save your part as, remember your name, Simon 11, and submit this along with your 2 screenshots and your Geomagic Design X file, and you'll get perfect score. So I'm going to post this. It's a pretty long video because I'm kind of going over it. I did a little bit different this time than the first time I actually created this. And you'll know it's just like SolidWorks. There's always more than one way to do it. This was just the easiest and quickest way to get it done, and shows you the basic features of Geomagic Design X. And Merry Christmas! This is your Christmas present. I'm posting this before it's due, so if you have time, watch the video. You should be able to get 100%. All right.